Hi, my name is Todd Ross, and in 1996 my father Roy was killed while racing at the Race City Speedway in Calgary. Over the last 24 years, Bruce Hampton, president of the International Motor Contest Associates, and its drivers have put on a memorial race in honor of my father. This year it's at the Edmonton International Raceway in Wetaskiwin. I'd like to invite you all to come down and watch some great grassroots racing on the pavement. I'd like to ask you a favor. If you are planning on coming down to the Edmonton International Raceway in Wetaskiwin to cheer on one or more of the competitors in this year's 25th anniversary Roy Ross Memorial, please buy your tickets online at eventbrite.ca or email royrossmemorial@gmail.com. All the purchases from either the online sales or through email, the proceeds go directly back to the racers of the show. Please support them and come on down and again watch some great racing. Thank you. And now we're going to watch a video of one of the competitors in this year's race. I'd like to thank Ian Burgess for doing the interviews and for providing them to the Roy Ross Memorial. Thank you. Enjoy.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our series of interviews for the 25th running of the Roy Ross Memorial. This year's event will be a two-day event held July 23rd and 24th at Edmonton International Raceway in Wetaskiwin, Alberta. The beginning of this video, you heard a little bit about Roy Ross from his son Todd Ross, and the goal of these interviews is just to get you a chance to know the drivers and the supporters of this event and learn about their racing journey and what the Roy Ross Memorial means to them. My name is Ian Burgess, and I had the pleasure of racing this event in 2011 and was able to win the Trophy Dash. The trophy is still proudly displayed in my house today, and it gives me a chance to talk about Roy Ross and a race that was born out of tragedy. Today we welcome not a current driver, but a huge supporter of racing in Western Canada. Big welcome to Mr. Mark Burton. How are you doing tonight, Mark?
Good, yeah. How are you, man?
I'm good. Maybe, Mark, we'll just start with most people know in the racing world, they've heard about you, and they know that you're a big supporter of grassroots racing here in Western Canada. But maybe just talk about how you got started in racing.
Well, Mom and Dad both raced when we were young, and then we moved to Wetaskiwin. They gave up the sport, and I kept going out to the track whenever it was open and trying to help whoever I could. And then, probably in my late 20s, I got a chance to test drive a car out there. I think it was 1994, maybe, because it was just turned to pavement. And Terry Kovacs wanted myself and Rick Flint to jump in his car and see what it was like. And off she went. We had a car that fall, and we've had one pretty well ever since. So.
Yeah, and you've had a chance. I know you raced a lot of Thunder cars, and we're in that series for quite a while. But you did also join the IMCA modified class for a little bit, and you've been in a super truck, and you've done a bunch. Is there a type of car you prefer that you've been in so far, or do you enjoy them all? What are your thoughts about the type of car you've raced or truck you've raced in?
The Thunder cars were unbelievable when there was 36 of us on the track at one time. When it got down to 8 or 9, it wasn't near as much fun. The modifieds were something else because it was like joining a crew of elite drivers. You know, you sit in a Thunder car and hold these guys, in pretty high esteem, and all of a sudden you're with them, and they kind of hand it to you, I'll tell you. And the super truck was probably the most comfortable vehicle I've ever raced. It was really quick and just handled like a dream.
That's awesome. So this year's event is a two-day event, and I know a lot of the drivers are really excited to get to have this two-day event. So July 23rd, the Friday night, Silver Star Trucking has sponsored the special event that night, and they're going to give out the big WWE belt to the champion that night. And then Saturday, we want to say a big thanks to you and Gas Compression for sponsoring the trophies for the whole event. And it's going to be the more traditional Roy Ross Memorial with the big trophy. We call it the Stanley Cup of motorsports.
Oh, God, yeah.
And it's really cool. So maybe just talk a little bit about you're involved in a lot of things. And Gas Compression is the title sponsor of the Canadian Super Truck Series. I know your decals are in a lot of cars, your signs, and I know you have your own Mark and Tracy Burton Motorsports group, all that kind of stuff. Maybe just talk about, and maybe it's from, like you said, when you started, you showed up at the track and you were just looking to help out. But what has kept you involved in motorsports even when you're not driving a car?
Well, I saw a real trend where there was no young people left in the sport. It was really dwindling down to where there were some mini cup racers and the baby grands and I guess the claimer cars. And it turned out to, there might be 3 or 4 young kids in it. And so we started off trying to, give them a little bit of money each to try and help with their repairs and try and help their sponsors and their crews and do things. And then it just kind of evolved into dirt versus pavement. We had all sorts of friends saying, why don't you help us, instead of just the paved guys. And so we did quite a bit of stuff over here at Castrol and Rimby and Drumheller and Swift Current and Kindersley. And then this last year or so, we had to kind of back off a little bit with COVID. So we've got some things going on the dirt with NAMS, and we're looking after the Roy Ross a little bit and with the super trucks. And I got a few things up my sleeve here yet if things work out. So we do a lot of rodeos. We're doing a tractor pull. There's lots of stuff out there we try to help with.
That's pretty cool. And one thing maybe a lot of people don't realize is when you watch NASCAR, you see all the big companies. You see these big, huge corporations. But for most local tracks, we can attract those sponsors. And so it really is the local companies that are the ones that step up and support these events and support the local racers. And so I hope you get a chance to see some of these interviews. There's been a lot of thanks given to you, Mark, and for all the support you've given. I'm sure I bet you're pretty excited to hear we're going to have a young guns race with there's either 5 or 6 of them that are going to be in at the Roy Ross. There's going to be a 15-lap race of just anyone under 21. And so I think that's a testament to what you've been talking about. And it's cool that out of 19, I think we're 19 cars now, Todd said 6 of them are young guns. I mean, it's pretty cool to think almost half the field now, or a third of the field, is drivers under 21. And I think that's something you identified. And I hope you can see that some of the benefits of your labor. You did get to run, I'm sorry, I got to bring this up. You did get to run one Roy Ross. You were the 108th driver to compete. We've had 124 drivers compete so far. It's pretty crazy. Todd keeps track of all this stuff. And you ran in 2015, and you only ran 1 lap. So Todd wants to know what happened.
Well, some of us are after accolades and trophies and stuff like that. And I saw Mitch Lauzon and Barry McTavish and those guys, and I'm not going to beat them. So I looked in a record book, and I found if I do 1 lap, I'll be in a record book.
You do.
That's
hold,
all the answer.
You hold the record. Yeah, you hold the record for the least number of laps.
Bad motor.
Bad motor.
It really was.
Yeah,
it was. Some of the assembly on the front end basically fell off, and it didn't work out very well. And then for some reason, I was getting a shock in the car. So they told me, do the 1 lap, do what you can do. And man, I tell you, it was like I was sitting against an electric fence and that thing until they pulled in.
I never knew that. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So your one time in there didn't go so well, but I know you've been at the track and you've been a part. And I know you've crewed like guys like Rob Lear, like people like that. You've been a part of these cars. Maybe talk about why you choose to be a big part of the Roy Ross Memorial.
Well, we were there when it happened to Roy himself, and we saw other incidences that happened, like Mr. Wheeler there. It happened, and just the way that Todd carries himself, like he does an incredible job of building up the thing, and so does EIR, the track itself does, and a really good bunch of guys. And without doing something for that race, it may not happen. So we'll do everything we can for a guy like Todd and some of the great racers out there, man. They deserve this race.
Yeah, it is. I know when I was racing modifieds, and I know still today when we get the schedule at the beginning of the year, it's one of the first things people say. Yeah, got to book work off, got to get the time off. This year, 19, maybe more cars. I think we might hit that 20 number, which is pretty amazing, coming out of the tough year, COVID, all that kind of stuff. Um, what are your thoughts? What do you think? 2 day show. Do you think the drivers are going to put it all out there on the first day? Are they going to be timid and wait for day two? What would you do if you were in the driver's seat?
I'd give her shit the whole time. Why not, man? There's supposed to be some prize money for each day, and if you end up first, second, third type of thing, at least you get to pull up and thank your sponsors and whatnot. And we're going to fight the same things with the super truckers. We're coming up to Hythe, and we're doing a 2 day show there. So some of the guys said, "Well, we're just going to dog it." So, go ahead. This is points, boy. You dog it too bad, you're going to be out. So I'd go the whole time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's been interesting talking to the drivers, and everyone gives a little different answer. Most of them, I think they just they're gonna do their thing and race the way they always race and do those things. Um, Maybe talk about a little bit about some of the cool experiences you've had at the racetrack throughout your life. Some memorable moments in any class, any division. What are some things that stick out for you?
Oh man, there was a couple of years ago when we watched this young girl out there, Haley Crandall, and she was a pretty talented little racer. And we thought we're gonna get her name on that car and give her some money and whatnot, and be damned if she didn't go out. And I think she won the very first night we had the name on the car. So I mean, I was jumping up and down, and we'll give the family big hugs. And doing the Roy Ross, I was pounding my hand on the inside of the car. I was so happy to be there. It's just something I wanted to do for 20 years. Seeing Rob Lear win in the modified and see him win in the Thunder cars. The super truck race the truck shut off on me in lap 2, and I rolled out to the outside and pretty already passed me. And I think I finished 3rd at the end of the night. So there's been some really good times. And guys like Alex Kraus, and his sister, and a whole bunch of these young people, and you show up the track and they know who you are. That makes a big difference.
Yeah, and they definitely do. I know you're all over the place. You're all over at different racetracks, and I think we're similar in a way. If we've got a free night and we can make it work, we're going to go find somewhere that there's racing going on, even if it's something we're not a part of. And I know you've done a few where I think it was a couple of years ago you came up for one night of Super Nationals and we're on the road the next morning and stuff like that. And I can tell you really are passionate about the sport, but I can tell even more that you're passionate about the people and supporting the people and what it means. And I talked with Alex Kraus about the idea of racing family, and that some of us I showed up at the racetrack, and I wasn't a person from the McTavish family or the Clark family that had all these generations and generations of racers, but I count those people as part of my family. So maybe I'm sure you've had similar experiences. Maybe just talk about short track racing and the idea of this racing family that exists as a part of that.
Well, and you should pat yourself on the back too for the amount of stuff you do for racing. Good Lord, man, you're all over the place doing this. You're doing the stuff up in Hythe, and you're very, very noticed. I'm telling you, you do a great job. I guess, when you look at the grassroots part of it, you show up at a place like Rimby, who really wasn't much of a track, and they were getting 30 or 40 people in the stands, and they kept pushing and pushing and pushing. Pretty soon, the pit's full of kids, and it's full of way more cars, and there started to be 200 or 300 people in the stands. And now it looks like they got some skyboxes coming. And if you really put some effort into it, no matter where you're going to make a difference,
Yeah, and I think I've talked a little bit about it. It's one of those sports where I've seen guys, and I know you've been there too, where I've seen guys give their spare motor to their fiercest competitor and say, "Here you go, come and get me on the racetrack." And they don't want to win it by you have a do not start or whatever it is. And it's starting to grow. I want to add on that Rimby thing. I hear they're starting with the box stocks mini sprints, and they're going to have young kids out there. It's cool. It's growing, and
yeah.
I think we're making some ground that way. Maybe talk a little bit about that cool trophy. We bring it up a bunch, but I know you've been able to help hand it out and pass it around and all that kind of stuff. What do you think about that Roy Ross Memorial Trophy? What does it mean to you, knowing that Anu Compression is one of the people that helps make that thing get out there every race season?
I think I'm even on that trophy.
You are.
Maybe for the one lap in my life. It's when I see the trophy even sitting on the table at the track amongst the other ones around it, it is like the holy grail in racing. To me, it's the biggest. I think it's probably the biggest trophy, at least in Western Canada. And I'm including late model racing and any other thing. I think that Roy Ross is it. And it shows the stands will be full. We know that might be the only time this year that it is, but it will be. Mm-hmm. Just to be around it, like when we handed it to Mike Clark last year, it felt like we were really doing something, like a bit of professional there, maybe. Like it's not just a Joe Blow type thing; it's the elite.
Yeah, it is. It's a trophy you would expect to see in a NASCAR shop. When you go and do the NASCAR tour in North Carolina, you'd think, that's a trophy someone won at, Martinsville or something like that. It's almost like the grandfather clock. And so I think it does bring a bit of professionalism and realism to what we're doing, because I know sometimes we feel like maybe this is a, backyard thing we do and we go out there and we race. But again, and the modifieds, the super trucks, these are elite race machines, and the people that pilot them they're athletes, and they're heck of drivers, and I'm not discounting the other classes, because I know there's hours and hours of work, and some of those classes it's harder to get work done. It's easier to put a motor in a modified than it is a Thunder car. Let's just say that, right? The stuff that. But it is a real professional sport out there, and and I know when I got racing those guys, it's the learning curve is steep and it's fast, and they'll always help you out. We're gonna talk to Barry McTavish tonight, and he's a guy that'll come by your car and give you every secret in the book. He's not gonna hide nothing from you. But it's a lot of work to catch them. It's a lot of work to race with those guys and to do that. Maybe talk a little bit. We're actually going to talk to Mike Clark tonight too. Talk about that crazy start of that race last year. I know you were in the stands watching. What were your thoughts when you were watching it?
Oh man, I was thinking there's going to be 4 cars left in about 12 minutes. It was just like, let's win this right now. It was unbelievable. But and then the people in the crowd, you're looking around and their mouths are wide open, their eyes are wide open, like, oh my God, this is going to be good.
Yeah, that's not supposed to happen at the bull ring. You know what I mean?
No.
You're not supposed to be able to do those kind of things. Yeah. And it's a tricky track. You know that, you've raced there a lot. You put a lot of time in there, and maybe just talk from your experience. What's the trick, the secret to getting around that track when you're door to door with 36? You talked about 36 other cars. How do you get around that track quick?
You got to use your head a lot more than your throttle. We used to say, put an egg under your foot and it'll come to you, and kind of mind your P's and Q's a little bit. Use your brakes a minimum amount if you have to, so you don't get all heated up, and learn the track and learn where the truck or car is going to let you go. Like that I drove that 43 super truck out there, and as I was coming through the pack, I found out that if I actually touched the brakes, the truck handled worse. So I just left my foot off and prayed like hell it would turn, and it did. But you got to use your head out there for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's a technical track, and I'll speak from experience. I got spoiled in Hythe. You can get away with a little bit more driver error than you can in Wetaskiwin. It's a technical track, and you got to make sure you got things right. Just before we wrap up, Mark, maybe you just want to talk about, again, we're super thankful for all the support you've given to the Roy Ross Memorial. Maybe just shout out some more of the things you got going on. I know, again, Anu Compression with the Canadian Super Trucks. You're also a big part of the Northern Alberta Mini Stock Series, their Super Nationals race going on. Anything else that you can share that you support, or tracks or whatever it is, and just again, we're thank you so much, but I want to make sure I don't miss something that you guys are a part of in the racing world.
Well, we try and bring other companies with us. So we have a really good company like Altitude and Bar and Low Tech. They build scrubbers for us. Amity Industrial and Reliance Applied. There's about 10 different companies that come along with us, and we've had them spread all over the place, but we didn't know even who was going to race this year. So most of them came on board with the super trucks just to keep them in the race game. And then if things happen next year, we'll spread things out a little bit more. But it's a neat deal, man. It's a really neat deal. And there's companies saying, don't forget me next year. This year is 4 races, 5 races. It's not worth their dime, some of them, but next year is going to be a lot better.
Yeah, and I think I think you would agree that there is value in being a part of these motorsport series. A lot of these drivers are more than grateful for any little support, and they'll have a truck on display or whatever you need them to do at those businesses and stuff like that. So again, Mark, thank you so much for all the support that you bring to all of racing in Western Canada. Thank you for your commitment to youth in this sport and giving, helping a little bit. I know what it is. I know you're not footing anyone's full bill, but just a little bit of support here and there and things like that goes a long way. And I just want to say thank you for being at the racetrack with a smile on your face and having a lot of fun. It's always great to bump into you and talk shop a little bit, and I can't wait till we cross paths again this summer. I'm not going to be able to make the Roy Ross, but I know I'll see you up in Hythe in August, and we'll chat.
I'm right. Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks
Thank you so much, sir. Have a great night.
Take care, man. You too. Bye-bye.